friends, Chubby Meeple back here to give you another quick walkthrough and review of a game that I think you might enjoy. We'll take a look at it, see how it plays, and then I'll come back and tell you what I think. The game I'm talking about, I'm going to take a look at today, One Deck Dungeon, published by Asmodee Games. To set up a game of One Deck Dungeon, you're going to set your level card, turn to the appropriate side, level 1. The back side has 2-player. This is the 1-player side. If you flip it over, you'll be on the 2-player side because this plays up to 2 players. You take your turn reference, which is just literally that, walks you through your turn, but it also acts as a cover card as you're going through the dungeon and helps you keep track of potions. You always start with 1 potion in this case it's a healing potion that you start with. It lets you heal 3 damage from one of your heroes at the start of a turn, or you can heal 2 damage anytime, whether you're start of a turn or in the middle of a combat. You're then also going to set aside the damage cubes and the additional potion cubes as you find those, along with all of the different colored dice that you have throughout the game. You then will choose from a list of essentially 5 characters which character you want to be in. On these character sheets, you have some stats on here. So for instance, the warrior here has 4 swords. She's got 2 feet, 1 little magic symbol, and 6 health. On there. This indicates a number of dice that she will be rolling when you're playing as the warrior. So I'm going to roll 4 of the swords, which are represented by the yellow dice. The purple, or the feet there, are your agility score, which are represented by the purple dice. And then you have blue dice that represent magic. So in the case of the barbarian, she's a better fighter than she is a magic user. So she's actually going to start the game. We'll just throw her down here. But you also have some other things on here, some different skills and abilities that each player has. And then there's also, on the back of the card, there's a 2-player version. So if you're playing with 2 players, it's cooperative, of course. You have some different stats. So the rogue would be, in a 2-player game, only have 1 magic die and 3 agility die. But if you're playing by yourself, she gets more agility, more magic, and has just a single sword. And I just want to quickly point out, every single character in here is a female character, and they're very strong, they're very powerful characters. So I do like to see that as well, but I digress. So we've got our character selected. We're going to go ahead and grab her regular dice. She's got 4 yellow dice for her fighting skill, her 2 agility dice, and her 1 magic dice that she gets to start with. We also then take from the deck of cards and select the villain, or the big bad that we're going to fight, the boss that's at the end of the dungeon. And so this is the boss itself, but on the back you have the actual different levels. You're going to go through 3 levels of the dungeon. So this is the ability of what's happening as you go down and delve deeper into the dungeon. So we're going to do the dragon. You simply slide that up under the turn reference card, exposing the actions for the first floor. We set the stairs card out. That's how we get to the next level. And then we shuffle the dungeon deck, or the door deck, and we set that on top of the stairs. Now, as you're playing, time is an enemy. So what I mean by that is, as you're going through, obviously you're going to be grabbing items to give yourself more dice. You're going to be acquiring extra skills, and you'll be also grabbing some experience points to level up so that you can have more items and more skills as you go through the dungeon. Now, as it takes you more time to do those things, you start burning through this deck, and you end up getting to the lower levels of the dungeon before you've leveled up very quickly. So what happens is, to start your first turn, you're going to burn 2 cards, burn 2 time essentially, which means you're going to take 2 cards off the top of the deck, and you're simply going to discard them. That indicates the time that you're doing. For your first turn, you'll actually do the explore action, which allows you to take 4 cards off the top of the deck and place them face down. So you basically have 4 doors to choose from in the dungeon. You then, now that you have those out, you then have burn 2 more time, because you're always going to burn 2 time before you take an action. Then you have the choice of picking a door. So we pick this door here, and there are 2 types of things that can happen. In this case, we've run across a trap on here, this spiked log. And in this case, I choose how I want to proceed. Do I want to roll my yellow dice and try to roll at least 8? Or do I want to roll my purple dice and try to roll at least a 14? So in this case, we'll roll the yellow dice. We simply roll the dice, just like normal. And I'm looking for a combination that is 8 or higher, and I just literally place them on top of the card, so you can't really see those, but that is a 5 and a 3 that have been rolled to total 8. I place them on there. I have successfully completed that card. Now, by successfully completing the card, I can either take this card for its item, which would give me another purple die, I can take it for its skill, which gives me a special ability that I can use, or I can take it for its experience points. And this particular spiked log adds 3 experience points. So I literally can slide this under my warrior card if I want to take it as an item. That adds the extra purple die. If I want to add it as a skill, I literally will slide it under her card down here, adding an additional skill. Or if I opt to take it for experience points, I simply slide it under the level card so that I can see the experience point markers out there. I see I have 7 to level up, and I've got 3 if I were to go that route. Turns are going to continue as I burn the deck again. We burn the deck, we choose another door. You know, there's another cave-in, another trap encounter. You also have combat encounters, and these work much the same way as the traps, except here you're rolling all of your dice. So I would roll all of the dice, and then I'm looking to total up the numbers on this card. So I would need an 11 to cover this particular box, and I can use any combination as long as they're blue dice. I can use that combination. I need a purple 3, a purple blue, a 6 blue, a 6 purple. So there's not a lot of fighting on here. There's also a special ability for this particular fire elemental that before the encounter, the hero, one hero loses a hit point. So if I'm losing health, I simply take a damage marker and place it on my character card, and once I've reached their maximum health, they're dead. So it can get pretty difficult. So if we chuck all these dice that we have, roll all these dice, we're not going to do very well because we got a bunch of yellow and this card doesn't call for yellow. So we come in here and we say, okay, well I need that 5, so we'll put that there. That covers that. I have a 6 here that covers. And then I can start combining dice and turning them into what are called heroic dice. So if I combine this 4 and this 3 that are yellow, and turn it into a heroic dice, it's actually going to take on the value of the lowest numbered die. So in this case, it would turn into a 3. So I would spend those, and I would get one of these black heroic dice. Heroic dice are basically your wilds. So I could plug that in here. And then if I were to combine these two, I'd have a 6 and a 4, which would give me a black 4, or I could combine and have a black 2. Either way, it's not going to be very good. I'm not going to cover up what I need. Now what happens is I did not cover the blue 11, or the blue 6 is what was left exposed on this. So what happens is I lose, for the blue 6 that was uncovered, I take 1 damage and lose 1 time. So the 1 time, I take the card off the top, and I take a damage. Down at the bottom, I'm losing 1 time, and I'm taking 2 more damage. So I take 2 damage because I didn't cover that, and I also lose another time that gets burned. Play is going to continue until I get down to the bottom of the deck, and these stairs are visible. Once the stairs are visible, I can choose to move to the next level, which simply pulls up to the next level of the dragon's cave. In this case, we reshuffle all of the door cards, even the ones that were still face up on the table. We reset back up. We play level 2 exactly as that is, exactly as it goes, and you go through to level 3, and then you eventually come to the boss encounter, which works much like the creature encounters are throughout the dungeon. There's some special rules where you actually keep fighting the boss until either you're dead or the boss is dead. On the other encounter cards, in the case of the one I just did where I didn't cover the blue 6, the blue 11, I still can, as long as I survived and didn't die from that encounter, I'm still successful in that encounter, and I still get to take that card for either its experience, its item, or its skill. So that's One Deck Dungeon. A cool little dice chucking game, dungeon delving. You're diving down. It's more that dungeon crawl feel to it, but literally cards and dice is all it is. There's no miniatures, no plastic. I really enjoy that as a nice break from a seemingly large wave of miniatures games that we have out there. I like being able to turn over the cards, throw some dice, lay the dice on those cards to achieve different things, whether it's agility and I'm running around, or I'm casting spells, or I'm fighting with my swords. It's very cool. I love the artwork in this game. It's very, it has a great feel to it, but it also has this kind of light-hearted touch to it, so it doesn't really have a very heavy depth to it in terms of it doesn't feel dark and grim. It's kind of got a little lightheartedness to it, almost a cartoony kind of whimsical feel. I really enjoy that. The other thing I really like is I like how the designers of the game stepped in and actually made it a very inclusive game. I know inclusivity in games is a big thing these days, and I really like the fact that no matter which hero you choose, you're playing as a female fighter, and none of them are scantily clad. They all look very strong, very powerful, very menacing, and I really like that the designers took that step. I know some people I've heard some people say I really wish there were some guys in here, but I like the fact that all the characters are women. It lets you play as a good, strong, woman out there, and being a father of 2 daughters, I really enjoy doing that, and they feel, when they're throwing those dice around, makes them feel good as well because they're playing as girls and not just some guy that they don't know. So that's a really cool feature of it. I really like the feel of the dice. Component quality wise is fantastic. They don't feel cheap, for lack of a better term. I do like the mechanic of having the choice, that the depth of strategy of, okay, I've defeated this challenge, whether it's a trap or a monster that I've defeated. Am I going to take the item so I have more dice to roll? Am I going to take the skill? Maybe the skill on that particular monster is something I don't want to pass up because it gives me some special ability to swap out some dice, or maybe something I can use once per round to heal, or whatever the case may be. And then the aspect of some of these I'm going to have to take for experience points because I have to level up so that I can have, extra items or extra skills, because there are limits, there are upper limits on those things. So definitely, if you enjoy chucking dice, if you enjoy solo games, this is a fantastic little solo game that you can play. Plays in about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit longer if you're kind of taking your time. But definitely check out One Deck Dungeon. And until next time, keep gaming, friends.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.